In today's video, I want to share with you something very sneaky that toxic people or malignant narcissists do to get you to regret that you've discarded them. I know that might sound crazy. I know you might be thinking, Michelle, why would anybody ever regret that? But trust me, you will understand it by the end of this video. So the reason I'm even talking about this is because I get so many people in my face-to-face coaching that come to me after having discarded somebody toxic or somebody that might have been a malignant narcissist. In other words, they watched videos, they learned about manipulation, they started to see the dynamics at play in their relationship, and they started applying everything that helps them to stop reacting to toxic people and actually start responding in more empowering ways. And as they were doing that, well, they got more empowered. They started to feel more like themselves. And from that grounded place inside, they were then able to watch the dynamics that were taking place, and they were able to see just how toxic the relationship was. Because remember, when you're still in that place where you're reacting and you're still in that place where you're enmeshed, you can't see the dynamics. You're too close to it. You're too enmeshed in it. But by empowering themselves and learning how to respond, then it's like taking a step back and you can see it more clearly. And what happens is that person that was in that abusive relationship starts to make changes. Sometimes they make those changes in the hopes that by their changing and by their learning healthier behaviors, healthier ways of responding, that maybe the other person can learn healthier behaviors as well. Sometimes that's the goal in the beginning for many. Unfortunately, if they are dealing with a toxic malignant narcissist, they start to see pretty quick that not only is the other person not changing in harmony with their growth, right, their own personal growth, but sometimes they start to realize the other person gets worse. So as that dynamic continues to play out, they reach a point where they realize that this relationship is really toxic, and that with only one person trying to grow and trying to heal, and the other person doing everything they can to stop that growth and stop that healing, many realize at that point that that relationship is just too toxic to continue. And they make a decision. And that decision to discard is made from an empowered place, right? They're feeling grounded inside. They're feeling more like themselves. They're raising their expectations as to how they expect people to treat them. And they're feeling pretty good about their decision. Now, sometimes at this stage, when they get to that point, the toxic person isn't fully convinced that you really are empowered and that you really are taking your power back and you're going to stand behind your word. So they will then try to reel you back in. And they do this by reminding you of who they could be, right? They start to portray themselves as the person that you fell in love with in the beginning. And they start displaying and doing all the things you've been asking them to do so that you don't have to leave the relationship. They start doing them when you make that decision to leave. However, if the individual has really been empowered and knows these dynamics, the target of the narcissist knows that this is just part of the game. This is just like the last time where they pretended to change or go back to who you thought they were. And you know the cycle, right? Some people are on a 2-week cycle, 2-week nightmare, 2-week amazing, 2-week nightmare, 2-week amazing. Some people are on a monthly cycle, every other month. Some people, it can be like 3 months, it can be longer periods of time. And honestly, usually it only lasts longer because your walls haven't completely gone down. So the narcissist waits you out, right? But the second you trust that again, you get sucked back into the cycle. Well, this time the target knows that. And so they don't fall for it. They hold their grounds. They say they want nothing but the best for the person, but that they realize that this relationship is toxic. It's not going anywhere. It's at the moment that the toxic or malignant narcissist recognizes that there is no way you're going to fall for it again, that they completely switch tactics. And what they do I've seen turn people that were empowered, happy that they left the toxicity, into questioning themselves, doubting themselves, feeling like they made the biggest mistake of their life, obsessed again with what's happening in the narcissist's life, overly focused again on the narcissist and not on their own life. I've seen it happen so many times. So what is it? What they do is they do a 180. They've just gone from trying to love bomb you, right? And actually the love bombing, when you are in this empowered position, only strengthens you, because now they're doing everything you knew they were. You're seeing the textbook display of their manipulation, so it strengthens your decision. So when they do that 180, what they do is they completely move on as if you never existed. And what I mean by that, it's not just dating someone else afterward. It's suddenly they're in a relationship where they are giving and doing. And this is the weird part, because if somebody moves on in a normal way, they just move on with their relationship and they do things together with that person, whatever. But this person, but it's almost like when they move on with the next person, it's almost like they do everything that you always wanted from them. They take this new supply to every place you had been begging them to take you. How long have you been there? Why did you tell me? I didn't see. Okay, get your butt out of here. Okay, trying to figure out where I stopped. So what they do is they take that new supply, every place that you had begged them to take you. They buy the new supply, everything you had always begged them to buy you. So it's not even like what they're doing is them with the new supply. It's like everything they're doing has this weird underlying connection to you. And here's the problem. Because the target at this point, yes, has empowered themselves to stop being enmeshed. Yes, has empowered themselves to no longer respond in unhealthy ways. However, they have not done enough internal work to heal their old wounds. And what the toxic person does by completely moving on in this way wakes up those old wounds. And what really is going on is that the toxic person realized that you are empowered now and they're down here. And they don't like that. By doing this flip and telling you things like, thank God, I'm so happy you ended it because I'm so much happier now with this person. This person is everything I ever wanted. This was the best decision you could ever have given me. I'm so happy. They're now raising themselves up and they're poking at your wounds that you are not enough. And again, it's not just moving on, okay? It's not just the act of moving on, it's the way they do it. By doing things that are meant, it's almost like an indirect way of communicating with you that, look, this person is worth it, this person is worth doing these things with, you weren't. On top of it, they play dirty, okay? So if you had things at their apartment, then they will refuse to give them to you. And when you get upset, they will tell your friends, common friends that you had with them, they will tell them things like, I don't know why she or he is so angry. You know, I've moved on, I'm so happy. All I want is for him or her to be happy. She has her stuff, lie. Okay, they're lying, but they're saying it in a way as if they care and they feel bad for you and they just want you to be happy. What that does is that causes friends in common that you may have with this person to start looking at you as if you are trying to cause problems for them, which you're not. You just want your stuff, right? But they will make it about you not being happy. So here's the next thing that happens, okay? It's almost like a snowball effect. So when that starts to happen, the target will often get angry because you know this is a lie. You know that you were happy that the relationship ended, but now they're making it in this weird way as if you aren't happy and you're just trying to take their happiness away. So what happens next is you begin to defend yourself. in frustration, in anger, which is understandable because this person is twisting truth and presenting things in such a weird way. However, the toxic person has set people up to look for your frustration and anger as evidence that you don't want them to be happy. I hope you can see that all of these tactics are the toxic person's way of causing you to get stuck in their web again. Because what happens, and what I see all the time, because I work with people that are going through this very same thing that I'm talking about, okay, is they start to doubt their decision because the toxic person is doing and being everything that they hoped they could be. So they think, oh my goodness, maybe if I had just waited, he or she could have done that with me too. That's what begins to happen. Also, if the toxic person, if you have some kind of communication with them for whatever reason, they are probably feeding you things that make you feel really bad about yourself. You know, they might say something like, yes, my new supply is so in shape. You know, you used to be like that, but I don't know what happened to you. And they will poke at the changes you made, which sadly, they're probably right in many of those changes. You have probably drifted very far from the person you really were in the beginning because of the toxicity, because of the depression, because of the lack of happiness, because of the abuse, because of the fighting. Your self-care habits have probably gone extinct, right? Well, now they let you know, and they point all of that out so that now you're focusing on the fact that you are so, you know, far away from who you really are. So again, you start doubting your decision because you think that because they're acting this way with the new supply, that that's who they really are, and that, you know, you didn't wait long enough for it. You start focusing on the ways that you changed. And because they're doing this to this other person, your shame wound, which you probably haven't really started healing yet, is now kind of being touched. They're poking at that shame wound again, that wound that says, I'm not enough. Look, the new supply was enough. The new supply deserved that, I didn't. And that shame wound starts to take over. Well, if any of that is happening in your case, then the narcissist's goal was established. Their goal isn't to really be happy in the next relationship. Their goal is to feel powerful, so powerful that this new person thinks they're amazing, while simultaneously they are hurting you by showing you that they are capable of behaving like that with someone else. Their whole goal is to continue to hurt you. When you were empowered, and they saw you empowered, they knew very well that you were so close to the journey towards true happiness, self-love, self-acceptance, and probably a healthy relationship. So they had to do anything to take you from that empowered place and put you right back into that shameful place where now all of your thoughts and your rumination are once again revolving and focusing on him or her. If this resonates with you, don't beat yourself. Don't get mad at yourself if you fell for this trap. Believe me, these dynamics are not normal. It's very hard to understand these dynamics and to believe that people can be like that. So have compassion for yourself, but more importantly, now you have to do the inner work to get yourself back to that empowered place.